How can we make our kids geniuses? Can you imagine what would happen if we knew how to generate geniuses, the way we know how to develop good football players? What would happen if there was a school where you could send your kids so they could learn how to generate brilliant ideas on a daily basis? And what impact could this have on humanity's progress and, consequently, on our personal lives? Sounds impossible, right? If you watch until the end of this video, I think you might change your mind. Now let's take the easiest example of how we generate good athletes. Let's take Michael Jordan. He's kind of good at sports, isn't he? His name has not only become synonymous with the best of all time, but he has transcended sports and become a cultural icon. So we can safely assume that he is one of the greatest talents to ever walk the earth, right? Well, at the beginning of his career, he tried out for the Laney High School varsity team and wound up on the junior varsity instead, because they passed on Jordan in favour of his friend Leroy Smith. Jordan used this as motivation to work as hard as he could, and we all know what came out of this story. So as most of us already know, in order to be a good athlete, you need, of course, physical abilities, but what proves a lot more important is what you do with the gifts from Mother Nature. There are a lot of tall, strong and fast young men, but only an extremely small number of them even come close to what Michael Jordan has been able to do. The recipe to become a good athlete is not shrouded in mystery. You need, of course, a lot of practice, and you need a growth mindset, which means that you believe that you can improve when you work on your craft. These two things combined lead to a state called deliberate practice, which is the key to success in most things in life. This is a process in which every time you practice, you diligently analyse your mistakes and work on correcting them. This proves to be a lot more efficient than putting in mindless hours practicing and just hoping for the best. Now, you would be right, of course, when you say, wait a minute, becoming a good basketball player is surely not an easy task, but it is not even close to becoming a genius. Yes, and this is why I have another example, which will take us a bit closer to the point I want to make. And this is an interview between the famous writers George R.R. Martin and Stephen King. Take a listen.
Is there anything that you've always wanted to ask me?
Yes, there is something I want to ask you.
All right.
How the do you write so many books so fast? I think, I've had a really good 6 months. I've written 3 chapters, and you've finished 3 books in that time.
Here's the thing, okay? There are books and there are books. The way that I work, I try to get out there and I try to get 6 pages a day. So with a book like End of Watch, and when I'm working, I work every day, 3-4 hours, and I try to get those 6 pages and I try to get them fairly clean. So if the manuscript is, let's say, 360 pages long, that's basically 2 months' work. It's concentrated, but it's but that's assuming that it goes well.
And you do hit 6 pages a day?
I usually do.
You don't ever have a day where you sit down there and it's like constipation and you write a sentence and you hate the sentence and
okay.
you check your email and you wonder if you had any talent after all, and maybe you should have been a plumber. Don't you have days like that?
No, I mean, there's real life. You know, I can be working away and something comes up, and you have to basically get up and you have to go to see the doctor, or you have to take somebody a care package, or you have to go to the post office, because whatever. But mostly, I try to get the 6 pages in.
Now, as you can hear from this interview, Stephen King also thinks that practice is the key to what he does and not just inspiration, which, as we can see from this interview, is not obvious even to George R.R. Martin, who is also a great writer with a lot of experience. What we can learn here is that the more complex things get, the less obvious it is that practice remains one of the key ingredients in the process of development. However, I think we can safely assume that Stephen King knows what he is talking about, since, to date, he is the only author in history to have had more than 30 books become #1 bestsellers. Okay, we have established that practice is very important, but how does this bring us any closer to our being able to groom geniuses on demand? Now, like in the case of athletes, I don't argue that genetics plays a role in the creation of geniuses like Einstein, but I would argue that just like athletes, there are a lot of people that have the potential, but we do almost nothing to support this process. Here comes the most important part. What could we actually do? Well, there are two things, one a bit more obvious, and the other, unfortunately for us, not obvious at all. The obvious one is education. We have an old, inefficient education system that isn't able to ignite the curiosity of our young minds, is not accessible to everyone who wants to learn, and the methods that are being used are, for most, I would call archaic. Think about the fact that TikTok is fighting for the attention of our kids using the latest scientific methods, and in comparison, most schools still use a blackboard and chalk. Students in ancient Babylonia inscribed their lessons on clay tablets with a stylus, and this was more than 4,000 years ago. I think we can do a lot better. We at No Laxi are working on a free platform for education, so if you are curious, you can check it out in its infant stages at nolaxi.com. This brings us to the last and most important point, which is, in my opinion, very counterintuitive to us. We believe that geniuses are born. We don't believe that you can practice to become a genius. This is why we don't work on improving the process of generating ideas. Michael Jordan worked fanatically on improving his free throw.
Now, Michael Jordan has already taken 5 of his first 10 foul shots, and he's made 3. But Jordan is shooting his with his eyes closed. That's 4 out of 6 for Michael.
Can our kids do the same to improve their capacity to generate ideas? Let me tell you how I envision the school for geniuses. Let's imagine we have created a system where kids can quickly and easily learn anything they need to come up with ideas. Every time they have an interesting thought, they are encouraged to pursue it, learn more about it, present it to the teacher, and discuss it with him and the rest of the class. If it's a good idea, they are encouraged to contact a specialist and ask them how they could pursue it further. If it is not, learn from the mistakes, grow, and generate more. What I am saying is that we need to use the principles of growth mindset and deliberate practice when we talk about grooming geniuses. The process of grooming inventors and creative minds is in its infant stages, and in my opinion, we need to put a lot more focus and effort into that. We need to have a process like this one in every school around the world and encourage the creative thinking of our kids, because in this stage their brains have the greatest potential for growth and development. Kids around the world play ball. Why not discuss ideas as well? Sports are good for you, but so is creative thinking. In the end, what do we need more? Football players or inventors? Look at our efforts to improve professional sports. If we did half of that to groom creative minds, we could have already built our base on Mars. But hey, we have the World Cup. There's still something, right? If you think we can do better, spread the conversation further. Share this video with your friends, discuss it, and let us know about the ideas you came up with in the comments below. We will answer your comments and promote the best ideas and their creators in our future videos. Also, if we managed to brighten your day a bit, give us a like so that the YouTube algorithm will be happy, and subscribe for more future thoughts. Have a great day, and see you in the next video.